What is up, beautiful people of the interwebs? We are back, PPMD
Oh.
here, joined by the magical man himself, Toph, bringing you Radio Melee, the show where we take your questions, the questions of the good people, and we try to do our best to answer them. But first, Toph, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing. I think what happened is that like last week I had a green screen, right? And what happens is with the green screen, what it does is
Uh-huh.
it takes green objects and it throws them into the depths of Final Destination. So I've
Yeah.
returned to my room, but my plants
Yeah.
are corrupted by the dark energy. Is what's
Well,
happening.
it's
That's
only.
bad,
I mean,
right?
I will
That's
say,
bad.
as a Fox main, it's beautiful you were able to get that off of you because that's the hard part, right? Oh,
As a
there it goes.
no, I kind of liked it. No, I kind of liked it. Wait, I liked it. I liked it. I liked it. You
Plants
could
out of the
color
void.
my Q. You could color my plants. You could do whatever you want with them. Theoretically, you could make them crazy plants.
Yeah, if you want to make crazy plants, we're here for that. Q, thank you so much for joining us as
Oh,
well.
so
Plants coming in hot. We are gonna have a good time on this episode. You can already see we're
yeah, we
having a little
are.
bit of fun. Guest list for the first time in a little while. Exclamation in the chat, Radio Melee. Join the Discord. Submit topics here. We'll pull you in. Get the question going. You know how it goes. So yeah,
Yeah.
if for the audio listeners, basically Toph's plants are wigging out right now, and we wish them the best.
That's true. There are audio. Yeah, shout outs to all you guys on Spotify. Yeah, it's just the power of green screen magic. If you're curious what we're talking about, head on over to the YouTube. You'll find the video there. It's wonderful. It's really truly wonderful what science can do. People, let me tell you what's on my mind. Let me tell you what's on my mind.
Please.
I was looking at Twitter, as I do sometimes. Lord knows why. But I was looking at Twitter. Right. And I saw somebody, I think it was Moki or somebody, but they were like, it sucks how I feel like there's no, how did they word it? They were like, well, it sucks that it feels like there's no news for, like nothing's really going on right now because, everyone's kind of waiting with bated breath for the return of offline majors, which is, by the way, super fair in the sense that, I saw, for example, Rien had a house tournament up in Washington where Fat Goku and Aura showed up. So a bunch of PNW guys showed up to, had an offline tournament, not a major, but, it was dope. Yeah, Fat Goku's playing Fox, Aura playing Peach, they're playing their mates. But then I was thinking about it. I was planning my weeks and my weekends, and I realized, this coming weekend is Get On. I think it's Get On My Line is this weekend. Next weekend's Pound Online. There's a 10% chance I mix those up, but I think that's the word.
I back you up.
Thank you. The following weekend is 4th of July, and therefore also the start of Rollback Rumble, the big one, which is going to be a week-long event with all kinds of side tourneys, different region tourneys, EU bracket. I think we're doing Asia bracket. We're doing all kinds of brackets.
Right.
Wolf tournament, volleyball tournament, all this crazy stuff. Leading into the following weekend is going to be the actual Rollback Rumble, the big one, singles bracket, which is going to be the last Summit qualifier. Then the weekend after that is Summit 11. So there are actually going to be 5 back-to-back weekends of what are essentially online majors. And I feel like nobody's realized that because I feel like we're having a little bit. This is like the last hurrah for the online era. It's kind of like we're going into the summer of Smash of like the last online summer of Smash, before I would say most of the majors are probably more, or at least offline and online live interchangeably. I don't know what that landscape looks like. And no one's talking about it. So I'm here to put it on the radar.
And you were telling me before we started, Toph, about this, and I was like, "Oh, I had no idea." No one really was talking about it. I wasn't aware, and so I think this is great information to bring to people.
Someone's got to talk about it. And we're here to talk about it. So
yes, sir.
There you go.
I mean, I love kind of what you're saying, that people are thinking about LAN, and we're having this kind of build up back to it with Summit at the end of all of this, fun stuff that we had beforehand. And if you guys are interested in Rollback Rumble, the big one, or who's running that, or any more information, I mean, you can go back to our episode of Radio Melee we did with Homemade Waffles with Brandon, and he talks about that in more detail and who all he has and how his vision for it and everything. So, I mean, definitely go check that out, or just give him a follow at Young Waff on Twitter. I mean, he's doing great work for the scene, really real pillar of the scene.
And also, I think what we should do, honestly, for this episode, if we can, I'm just going to assume we can do this. It doesn't sound that hard. Is I think what we're going to do is put all of the links to the Smashages for these respective tournaments in the description, right? Let's try to do that, because then you're listening to this. Oh, I didn't realize all these tournaments are coming up. This is your chance to get some sets in with the best of the best on rollback netcode. Maybe even you qualify for Summit. You out there, dear listener.
That's right.
Maybe you just have the run of your life at Rollback Rumble, the big one, and you get into Summit, the first offline major when we come back. I mean, I think it's fair to call it a major. Major in terms of difficulty, at least.
Yeah.
Not in terms of people count, but I think winning Summit's pretty hard. So
yes, it is.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that about, that's kind of something that we still get to celebrate about ourselves, right? That we have so many open brackets still. And yeah, Summit's a little bit different, but I think, a lot the requirements aren't so stringent that like no one can get in. So I think that's pretty cool. And, as we have so many open things like a lot of the rollback rumbles like you're talking about, or we just get back to LAN. I mean, anyone can come in. So if you've been grinding your Uncle Punch, if you've been watching your SSBM tutorials, if you've been learning more about the squab zone from Toph's YouTube, you've been getting your game up, then roll through the tournaments. Time to test yourself. And I think, a lot of us feel LAN is a lot of the gold standard for play. Now, whatever your views on that are, I think a lot of people are excited for it, even if just for the social aspect. So, roll through. I think it'll be a good time, and we get to really see what Melee is about there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And it's crazy to think that, man, it's been so long. It feels like a distant memory. But man, yeah, Summit's gonna be big, dude. Summit's gonna be big. Who's in? Is H1 not in yet? When does campaigning start? Soon, right?
It has to be soon because it's like a month away. It's got to be like this week, next week, or something. Because I mean, they have to get a lot of people in, right? Because they didn't invite that many people. So I guess we're gonna.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, you must be right. I saw Magi tweeted a picture of a bunch of cosplay outfits on like her bed, and then that meme of Bugs Bunny with the gun or whatever, where it's like Lord help me, I'm about to turn back to the old me, and I was like, all right, I guess. You know what I'm talking about, though? So I was kind of like, all right, I guess I guess campaigning season's coming back.
Here we go.
I got it pulled up. I actually got it pulled up. Opt-ins begin this Friday on Smash GG. Okay. So opting in is going to be June 18th. I think we usually post these episodes on YouTube on probably Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know what day it is for you guys. We do them live, by the way. If you're one of the Spotify listeners, the YouTube listeners, you could come by twitch.tv/PPMD or twitch.tv/TophBBQ.
Yes.
On a Tuesday between 3 to roughly 4:30, I would say. And
Pacific time.
Sorry, Pacific time.
Yes.
Fast forward that by 3 hours if you're East Coast. Do a bunch of weird math if you're from somewhere else.
Good luck.
Right. So for all of you out there, again on the YouTube, probably 2 days from now, roughly, opt-ins are going to start. So you're going to start seeing people starting their campaigns, doing all kinds of weird stuff, eating onions, maybe grill them up though this time. Maybe, put a splash of butter in a pan, grill them up 40 minutes, caramelize them, put them on a nice little sandwich, and maybe it'll just be a tastier, healthier experience for you with your onion eating experience.
Well, there it is. There it is. There's the meme. And now for again, the audio listeners, we do have the Bugs Bunny gun meme on screen at the top. Lord forgive me, but, and then at the bottom, I'm about to go back to the old me. Thank you so much, Q, for pulling that up. That really adds. I think now everyone knows that it's getting serious. Exactly. So I think next week we're probably going to be talking about Summit. We're going to be talking about campaigning. We're going to be talking about how, boy, it's been a little bit since we saw this craziness. And I think even when you say that, I think once you're in the middle of it, it hits different, and it's a wild time. Because I think we were almost getting burnt out of it, right? We were almost getting burnt out because it was like two times a year, but now, right? Like it's been a while, so maybe everyone's gonna get crazy campaigning more. So I don't know, man. We might be in for something.
That's a good point. I feel like a lot of people kind of shied away from doing the crazy bullshit because they're like, dude, you can't do it every time. You lose your mind after a while. But we might see some new tech this time. Yeah, I'm very excited, and also and I also think there are kind of these crowd favorites that that can kind of get away with not really doing too much. You know, I feel like Johnny's gotten voted in a lot.
That was my first thought.
But Johnny's also so good now that he might qualify with R, the big one, right? Like he's definitely one of the forefront people that I would expect to win that. So I'm kind of like, I'm hoping to see HBox campaign. I'm hoping to see None campaign. I think with with their streams and their fan bases, I think they can do some work, So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. I hope Wizzy gets it. I do hope Wizzy gets in some.
Man, I've seen people talking about how if Wizzy doesn't get in, it'll be rough. And because I mean, he's really starting to shine so much as a player, right? He's really the Mang0 win. He got really close again right afterward. The Zane win,
almost back to back.
I mean, super incredible stuff for Falcon. Especially, but I mean, certainly for his own self too, had such a rough record against Mang0 specifically. So I think I think a lot of people want to see more of him. And I mean, I don't think the campaign process necessarily favors him, but I think he's just done so well. Maybe that's just gonna be like everyone's like, come on, come on, guys.
I mean, there's all those voices that are like, come on, he deserves to be in. Like, I mean, if all of those people just use their votes on Wizzy, I would say that's a huge chunk of people. So I think he's got a real shot. I mean, again, he's also got a very real shot to win Rollback Rumble, the big one.
Right?
But
yeah,
that's still only one slot. So is what it is. Man, yeah, Summit's gonna be grand. It's gonna be grand, and these upcoming majors are gonna be grand. I'm commentating a lot of them. Oh, one last little thing that you guys should have on your radar. I just remember because I actually have back-to-back commentary this weekend. On Sunday is also on Plup stream. Plup is doing an offline invitational.
That's right.
Invitational is the wrong word. I guess it's like a series of exhibition, kind of like an octagon in a way, right? Because it's going to be Plup. Mewtwo King is going to be taking part, which is really cool. Wizzy, HBox, and then I believe Gatsu and two others. Let me pull up Plup's tweet because you guys are going to want to know. You guys are going to want to put this on your. What is Plup's Twitter? I looked up twitter.com/Plup, and it's
is it
a guy named Billy.
PG?
Panda Plup. There it is.
Panda
Plup. Right. Lad versus Odie is going to be the starting match, and then Gatsu versus Plup, Mewtwo versus Plup, and Wizard versus Plup. Okay, I misquoted. I don't think HBox is announced, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So the Plup Showdown. It's called the Plup Showdown, which is hype. Yeah, really cool to see a bunch of Plup.
I mean, I think it's going to be especially interesting to see what M2K is like there because he just doesn't he's still solid. I've seen him play on a couple other people's streams, so he does what he does still works, and so just kind of seeing some of that and just seeing the different way he handles things still effectively and everything like that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So what Plup's doing is cool, and I remember it kind of reminds me. I don't remember who was talking about it. But there was someone that noticed. It might have been at the last summit or something like that, maybe SCL. But I think they were talking about how a lot of the other gods and such like that have hosted their own tournaments, and I haven't. And everyone was like, "Oh, well, PP's got to host one." I've never thought about that before. So I thought that was kind of a funny thing. And now I hear Plup's hosting something, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, there's some of that too. And I'm not saying whether I should or shouldn't. I'm just thought that was kind of a funny thing, and I think it's cool that Plup's doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, by the way, if you ever, I think that would be super exciting.
Oh, thank you.
The names write themselves, it's like
we
stacked up or something,
Sure, that we have to think
major.
The stacked catfish, of course. Anything that doesn't involve my actual tag, so we can perhaps get a sponsor for it.
You could go medical. You could use the doctor angle though. It could be I'll have to think of something. I don't know, man.
I run sub tourneys, and they're called the monthly checkup because we do them once a month. But we have that. There's always a way we could try and angle that into something bigger. You never know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's about we're about ready to get our first caller on the line. If you are not in the Discord, make sure to use !radio melee to join.
That's right.
You can get in the Discord, ask your questions. And there's already.
Don't you want to be on the show? Get on the show. Come on, it's fun.
Don't you? It is fun.
This is the people's show, man.
God damn. These are some cool. I haven't even looked at them yet. All right, joining us is it's Moose. Hello,
what
Moose.
Up, Moose?
Where are you calling in from?
How's it going, guys? I'm calling in from Durham, North Carolina.
Wow.
Not too far away. Not too far away from me.
Yeah, PP probably knows me as one of his Discord monsters.
Yep, that's correct. And what question do you have for us today, Discord monster Moose from Durham?
Yeah, so I was wondering, so players that have really risen to prominence in the Slippi era, for example, Ben, is probably the shining example of that. Mm-hmm. How do you think those kind of players will transition into offline tournaments with challenges such as sleep, hotels, and crowds, especially?
That's a fair question.
Will their online results hold? And how can we also try to make sure these really good players that have risen to offline majors, like Genesis is a big house, how can we make sure they can get transportation and stuff?
The second question is a lot harder. That's a question that plagues so many players, right? Like that is the real challenge of LAN. How do we get people where they need to be? And that's kind of why I like that events can happen so many places all over the country or in other countries or things like that, just so we can give people that have the skill and have the drive but don't always have the means or something to give them a chance to shine and do what they can do. But I mean, there are various solutions to that. If TO set aside money or there's a good player fund, like a modern version of that, there used to be one back in the day where people got flown out to things. If the players start some type of goal or do some type of I guess they could do a summit style campaign if they really wanted to, if there was something like a Genesis they really wanted to go to and they're on the other side of the country. There's things like that they could do. I mean, I think some other players, some other higher level players, they also work, so they'll be able to get there on their own. It'll just be, harder. But yeah, I mean, that's the first part of that for me. But I think, Ben's also someone, I think we first started talking about Ben several shows ago, and we were like, oh, yeah, he's been playing for 6 years. And so he's played plenty of offline, and he's grown plenty offline by this point, right? So I kind of think Ben and a lot of other players that have risen up have probably played still way more offline than online. Now, I don't know, maybe there is something about online that was more comfortable to some of these players. I don't know. I haven't really talked to any of them about that. I don't have the information to answer that part of it. But they have the skill, and I think, that is a big barrier for just so many people, right? They have the thing up front. And so if they have to work on some tournament type skills or how to adjust to sleeping in a different environment or different food or whatever, I think, as competitors, they'll be much more likely to shift their focus there and identify what's going on, because they're like, oh, well, I know how to do this thing and I know that it's fine, but when I go here for some reason it's not working and I feel off, and they can start identifying these sorts of things. And because right, like you no longer have to think, okay, well, did something happen with a new Slippi update or my setup or something, but like Windows update or whatever, right? So that it's not that, so you can start looking in those other areas. And so I think just people that have all this experience too do so much trial and error, they're able to figure it out. What do you think, Toph?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, certainly there are things that are harder about online tournaments. There are things that are easier. I mean, time zones and sleep and having travel, finding a good way to get jet lag, right. And I mean, securing warm up. Very, very, very easy, obviously, at an online tournament.
And also, if it's a big event, the AC might be on. You don't get to control so much.
Yeah, there have been some tournaments where people complain about the temperature stuff, which can be very real. I mean, don't get me wrong, that stuff can be real. But I mean, I think the players that have not really that have come up very recently, I mean, I think they'll be fine for the most part, right? It's like I mean, someone like Ben, he would have to play so far below his level to lose to, people he shouldn't be losing to or whatever. His baseline is so obviously high that I'm just not that worried about him. I think it's going to be fine. I think if anything, offline is about the friends we made along the way. And I think what it's going to be fun is these players like Aklo, who people don't know what they're about or whatever.
Oh, no.
He's taunting and all this nonsense.
Oh, no.
And he's going to come out to these majors and people are going to realize this guy's a sweetheart. So, I think the biggest changes for these players are going to be less about their gameplay per se, and almost more about, I'm just excited to meet some of these guys. I guess what I'm trying to say. I'm excited to see them kind of come to stuff and Yeah, these players that like Ben and Aklo, for example, who I've only really I've only really seen them on via webcams, and it'll be cool to actually get to meet some of these players. It's going to feel like I feel like going to my first offline majors, and for these players too, it's going to feel a lot like the tournaments of yore, where you would meet new players every time you went to a tournament. I think that's really cool. I know that's only tangentially related to your question, but TLDR, I think the struggles that are all that, I think people will mostly be fine.
Tangent to your tangent. If Aklo plays on stream early and he taunts in camps, does he get booed?
Maybe. People don't boo as much these days, man. I
That's
feel like
true.
people used to be
There
worse
really
about
isn't
it.
there. Yeah, there really isn't so much booing, but I don't know. I mean, the response was so strong, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, we also had a strong response to Dreamland clapping, which we don't anymore. So maybe we just toned it down. But maybe right, like we're not used to being in a crowd, and we're just so excited to be there, and we just start getting nuts for everything. We just freak out over everything now for a little bit. Maybe there's some of that. Who knows?
Everyone from New York seems to say that Aklo is like a really, really cool guy at locals and stuff. So maybe he just wins everyone over really quickly, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe people cheer for the taunting. Maybe people cheer for it. I don't know. People did with Crush when Crush taunted Dizkid Boogie and those Ices guys.
Yeah,
so.
I think I think there are a few different factors going there, but sure, yeah, you never know, right? Like, when Armada hits the Stitch and taunts, everyone's like, "Oh, he did it again." So I don't know. We'll see. It could be different on land. So again, see me. Am I up on the D-pad on land? We'll find out.
We'll find out. Good question, Moose. Any shout outs?
Yeah, is it okay if I have a quick follow up?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We love takes. We love takes.
So that was talking more about the players that might be negatively impacted. Do you think people that have struggled in the offline, for example, HBox being the biggest, is he less negatively affected by those things, or is he positively affected?
I think he'll do better. I don't know if he's going to become, just immediately whatever, like completely back to forward. But I think for someone like him, I think PP already mentioned how when you're playing offline, like things that could contribute to it feeling a little bit jank. Like, okay, dude, I don't know if like maybe HBox and Axe, literally, I would not be surprised if something is wrong in their like graphic card settings and has been wrong, and they've been playing with like an extra little bit of lag or something that they haven't really ever diagnosed or something, and they just go back to LAN and it just kind of intuitively feels better, and it just ramps up their mentality and stuff like that. I think knowing that you don't have that John anymore is enough for some people. Like knowing that you can't John about it being online or whatever, and knowing that, like Mang0 was saying this when he went to Zane's for Octagon. Mang0 was saying like, when I mess something up, and Mang0 he's not even really a complainer, like an online complainer. Like Mang0 never really complained much about. He always said Slippi always felt really good, but he even said like, when I mess something up on Seer Team Melee, I'm really like, that's on me. That's on me. There's nothing there's no fallback, right?
Right.
And I think that's going to go, that could go a long way for some of these players.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the excitement they'll have to get back to that is going to be way bigger than any other challenge. Because especially people like Hungrybox and Axe have done so many tournaments, and they've done well in so many tournaments. So I think their memories of those events are going to be much more positive, and I think that's going to be much more exciting to them than anything else. And also, someone like Axe is just going to get cheered for, I would say.
Yep.
So, I mean, everyone wants to see Pikachu Man do the back throw into tail by the edge. So, I think, I mean, and HBox has gained a much, much larger following. Interested to see what the crowd will be like during that as well. So, I think, I don't think these players are necessarily going to have, and they're both, sponsored, so they're not going to have real difficulties with some other issues like other players could have. So, I think they should be all right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
I agree with that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely, Moose.
Got any shout outs for us?
Yeah, actually, PP's Discord, they've been absolutely awesome throughout quarantine, being a great community for me to really sink into. Also, I want to shout out Willie P for organizing the first North Carolina local since COVID.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that to you. We talked about it a little bit right before we started. So if there is a North Carolina local coming back, I don't remember exactly when. Do you know when, Moose?
Yeah, it is the 26th, the day I leave the state.
Okay, nice. Cool.
Just shouting out the entire North Carolina Melee community for being really chill.
Heck yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you for calling in, and I'll see you around.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Later.
Yeah, I can't wait. I personally can't wait. We'll see how it all shakes out. In the meantime, we got our next caller.
Mm-hmm.
And 64 degrees. And 64 degrees. Where are you calling in from today?
Cold.
Howdy. I'm calling in from Massachusetts.
That explains your name. What's your question for us today, N64 degrees?
Oh, my question is about Slippi. And when it comes to Slippi, a lot of people talk about rollback and how incredible it is, and it absolutely is incredible. It shouldn't be understated how amazing of an innovation it is for Melee. But I feel a lot of people don't talk about the replay file system, and specifically how it works on console as well. And I think that one of the most incredible applications of Slippi is to be used as an archive system. Because I was thinking recently that I think it's Homemade Waffles who has a bunch of old VODs from like super old school tournaments, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, without all of these VODs, so much of this history of Melee is just lost forever. Because the only way until recently to keep, tabs on all these historic Melee sets is recording them physically with a capture card and then uploading it to YouTube or something. But Slippi now gives us the ability to save replay files, which makes it way easier. And you could even record and basically archive an entire super major if you really wanted to. And so my question basically boils down to, or just what are your thoughts on Slippi replays and just what they really mean for the future of Melee?
What, are you trying to say Gimmer's out of a job?
I was thinking of that.
I think there are tournaments that have already been doing this. And this is a good point because I think people now associate, when you hear the word Slippi or the name Slippi, you associate it with the rollback client. But Slippi's been around for a long time. And what Slippi used to be primarily was the thing you just described, the replays, the replay archival. And there were tournaments, I think 2018, like Shine might have been one of the first majors to do this. But there were tournaments where they started putting they basically would use Slippi archival on like every single console at the venue. And yeah, the theory is you get to a point where, okay, so I mean, my take is there will never be a replacement for the Gimmers and the BTS Smashes, right? The Spencers, what have you. Because that you're going to get the commentary, you're going to get the clean overlays, you're going to get the, analysis and the banter between sets. With the Slippi stuff, you're only going to get the gameplay, right? And obviously, you can do some things to make that experience more seamless, like putting metadata on it so you can show who's actually playing. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get the commentary. It's not going to feel. You're not going to have the stream chat associated with the main stream. It's going to be, it's going to be more for the people that really want to digest that gameplay. But you're right, and I think this is actually something that majors started doing before. If I'm not mistaken, this is actually something that majors started doing before Pound apparently did this. Pound 2019, and you could literally get the gameplay from any tournament set that happened at the tournament, which is really wonderful for players. You integrate this with something like VODs.co. I love VODs.co for finding obscure matches or things like that. VODs.co is how we used VODs.co to on the production side of Golden Guardians to put together some of the what do I call them? The clips that we did to hype up the players and stuff, like some of my voice clips. They went back. You can literally filter by who commentated the set.
Oh, right.
So they went back and they filtered by sets Toph commentated from this year. With and so we found commentary of me commentating with Vish from 2011 or 2012 where there was a really funny moment or something, and then they used it for a trailer, right?
Yeah.
So the combination of Slippi in theory with VODs.co and stuff like that, it basically does, it makes it so that there is just no end to, especially for like if you're a player that's trying to improve and you're trying to like watch matches of your favorite players or something like that, like I can just imagine that just the accessibility for finding as much footage as you can possibly get your hands on, like it just gets so much better.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. It does kind of cut out the middleman. At the same time, with like it's just not reasonable to expect commentary on every single match in the
Right.
tournament, obviously. So there will
Right.
never be a replacement for the mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I think Toph answered that super well. I think I really don't have
Thanks,
much at
BB.
all to add. Yeah, I mean, you did. You nailed it, man. Good stuff.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, the only thing I really have to add, and this is just personal, so it's not even really necessarily a big ad, but like you said, Toph, when I came up, there was not any commentary, or if there was, it was like Wife at MLG or something, and that was like a little
Right.
before I started. And so most of when I started doing analysis was just gameplay, no webcam, no chat, no nothing. And I really found I was really able to get into a groove really well with that. And I've noticed I've struggled with that a little bit more since we've added more things. They can often distract my focus a little bit more. And so I've personally, always kind of had a hunger to have at least an option to watch without the other things that I think are really good for the spectator experience. Don't get me wrong, like you were saying, but something for me that just really enjoys the analysis and just I guess maybe the simplicity of it, or however maybe it's just I just learned it that way and I just like it that way. I mean, however I want to say it, but yeah, I like that there's an option like that for me, and I'd love to be able to maybe even toggle it or something like that if because I know some people talk about that too. Obviously, not as many. More people like commentary. I'm not trying to. This is not like me trying to rip on commentators or anything. I commentated Octagon, had a great time doing it. So Toph's a great commentator. So it's not really about that. You're welcome. It's just more about what I personally like for myself, and so I like that there's an option like that, and I think that's kind of cool that Melee just kind of finds a way to, and especially Slippi, right, which has done so very much at this point. It's just a massive project that's done so much. It's updated. First, I remember hearing of it. It updated graphics for CRT, and that was really cool. And then it did the replays like Toph was talking about, and everything else. So I love all the things it can do, and I love that it gives something like that for me personally. But like I said, I think Toph answered it really well, and I don't have much else to add.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it will never be a true replacement for VODs because streaming the event itself and uploading all the VODs with the commentary, that's a huge part of spectating Melee.
Yeah.
But I think that that website that you mentioned, using it alongside that to basically provide a huge back catalog of all the sets that can't make it on stream, because there's a lot of top 64 sets where you never
Yeah.
get to see them because they're not streamed unless there's someone on their phone there streaming it.
Yeah, which
And
I
even
still
then,
love.
oh, it definitely has that classic
Yeah.
feel to it and really gets you into it. But
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that combining VODs and Slippy files would be a great way to really
Yeah.
just really get the full experience. Because something I was thinking about while you two were discussing was like, how cool would it be to watch Mang0 or Zane's entire run throughout the whole tournament, just set
Oh
back
yeah.
to back to back? Because you never really get to see, well, sometimes you see it on stream, but for the most part, you don't get to see their, winners round 3 set.
Mm,
And it would just be so cool to see that and everything.
yeah. And I mean, the system already has a filter by player at the event, so it's just really a matter of just having the files and getting them there, which I think we're pretty much at that point now. So you can watch Mang0 do the darn thing, go on the run from wherever he starts or wherever he goes, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy that sort of thing. So yeah, we're pretty much there, and I think I guess it would be kind of neat. I'm kind of thinking about it. Is there a way we can kind of add some type of pizzazz to that? Can we have like someone go back and commentate part of it afterward or something? Like I don't know, like, or there's just effects you can add. I don't know. I don't really know like what that would be like. It's not necessarily something I think about a lot, but like yeah, I mean if we wanted to kind of improve going back and watching that and keeping more people watching Melee, maybe that's something we could think of investing in. I don't really know, but it's kind of a neat idea.
Definitely. Yeah. It's cool that someone asked, just because
Yeah.
people don't realize this. Yeah, for sure. Kind of
I
almost gets taken for granted now.
I absolutely love the preserving history, especially of Melee. One of the things that really inspired this question was, do you know the old school WAC guides? WAC guides? I forget how to pronounce
Yeah,
it.
of course.
They're really good.
That's how to play.
Don't, like, it's so cool to me that all these years later, they're still up and they're
Yes.
not outdated or anything. They're still there.
Yeah.
I love that
Right.
kind of stuff. And I feel it'd be so great to be able to, you know, assuming Melee is still kicking 20 years from now, we'll look back on a 2022 set or whatever and be able to see it in its full glory. I think that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a lot of things archived, so I mean, there's already a lot of it there, but the more we can get, and I guess it's kind of one of those other things, right? Like, there's a lot of good educational content out there now, but because there's so much, it can be hard to find. So that's why stuff like that aggregates all this stuff and puts it into one place is also really valuable. So that, I guess we kind of run into a different problem later where we just have so much, we like drown in videos and like, what do we do with all this? And should something ever happen to VODs.co? Hopefully not, but should something ever happen, do we have a backup? Do we, what do we do? Do we have like other YouTube channels where we put stuff? Just like stuff like that is something worth thinking about as we continue to have just, month after month of so much more content as a community. Right.
Can't say no to that. Can't say no to more content as a community.
We just got to make sure that we keep our community or our content available and findable and easily searchable, ideally, and backed up, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the technology is there, honestly. Yeah. So
just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, good question. N64 degrees.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any shout outs?
I want to shout out my school's Melee scene. So I go to University of Massachusetts Dartmouth. I'm actually president of our school's Smash Bros Club.
Let's go.
We have both.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah. We have both Ultimate and Melee starting in the fall. So if anyone happens to be near the Dartmouth area in Massachusetts, feel free to come by.
Nice.
Our Melee setups have all the latest modern needs that you need. They have UCF. They have all the good mods. And we're still debating whether we're going to run Frozen Stadium or not. So
good luck with that one.
I think we all are. That's really cool. I'm a big fan of promoting collegiate Melee because that's how I got my start too. So
okay.
Oh no,
pretty dope to hear.
My first ever Melee in-person experience was my local college scene, and I loved it ever since.
Nice.
And then one last shout out is to a few people from our local college scene. I want to shout out my roommate Wayne, who's probably the nerdiest Melee guy I know ever. He's so obsessed with the game, but
Wayne,
he's the man. I want to shout out Nage, who's a really dope Marth main, and I want to shout out my other roommate Brandon, who's a crazy Fox main. So shout out to those guys.
Shout outs to them.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for calling in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Good old Slippi, man. Yeah, Slippi does more than there's like a slogan for some product I want to use here, but it does
best things
what
in sliced bread.
Best things in sliced bread.
Exactly. Okay. You were going somewhere else. That's fine. We got slogans.
Nintendo's taken though. That's like an actual thing. It's like one of those Wii launchers. So I guess it gets confusing if I use that phrase. Well, and I think we're about ready to get our next caller on. We have K17. What's up, K17? Where are you calling in from?
Hello. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm calling in from SoCal. My name on Twitch is Kmarth.
Kmarth.
My question is, with the rise of things like 20XX and Uncle Punch, what and how do top players utilize these tools, and how can newer players such as myself incorporate these types of things into their training?
So how do top players use Uncle Punch and 20XX and stuff?
Yeah, stuff like that.
And then how do new players make use of it?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually made a YouTube video on how to use like the new Uncle Punch 3.0. I guess it's not that new anymore, but yeah. I don't know how many top players use the full suite of features. I actually think there's some stuff that a lot of players. I think in Smash, it's just, I would say that what I experienced when I went to traditional fighting games is people in traditional fighting games are a lot more willing to use these sorts of training mode features. Like, for example, someone doing something. So this is something I started doing recently is I'll have a Marth do like for example, forward air down tilt, and I'll run in and try to get a crouch cancel punish or something like that. Yeah. And I can just kind of rinse and repeat it. Really good for drilling muscle memory. I don't think I would say probably not a lot of top players are doing this though.
That's
to
true.
be perfectly honest with you.
That's true.
I know KJH did. He was a huge proponent. I know, for example, Billy Bo Peep has made a lot of really cool little training. Like, Billy Bo Peep did one where he would record a Falco getting sent off stage and recovering in all these different ways. Side B shorten, side B edge cancel, up B. And it was random. It would randomly shuffle between them. So you could practice rinse repeating over and over, practicing your edge guard flow chart on a Falco. I don't think that many top players are really using it, though, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. PP, what do you think? I think about the extent of it for most people, probably is people might be using like there's a combo training one where you can just go in and you can set it to, you can practice your tech chases really easily, which is really nice. But I don't know. What do you think? Have you been using any of these features?
So I used it for the first time ever in my life on Saturday, and there were some things that most everything was there that I've heard about. I thought there was going to be a little bit different stuff for SDI, but everything else that I expect, because I don't know how everyone's SDIing so well if there's not like a specific thing in there for that, but there's not as far as I could tell. But yes, otherwise everything that I kind of expected was there. There was a MASH one, which I haven't really seen anyone talk about. So there's a lot of different things in there that I just didn't know about. And I thought it was really interesting. I'm going to keep messing around with it every so often because I'm kind of hooked and I'm kind of trying to figure out why certain things work in there and certain things don't. So I'm interested in it. I've always been someone that I was starting to get more and more into labbing as 2014 progressed a lot, and I really saw myself wanting to do that more. I don't think I ever got to like, the variety of ways that Leffen did it or anything, but I think I was getting better at it and I was starting to get really interested in it. So I have some different things that I kind of want to play around with and look at. So I think I'm going to enjoy the save state feature. I remember when 20XX first came out with that, I already was getting ideas and wanting to mess with it. So I think it's neat. I don't know exactly what other top players are all doing with it. I don't think Mang0 does much with it. I don't know what Zane does with it. There's a lot of things I don't know about what they do.
Zane might do. Yeah, I don't know what top players are doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
so that's a hard question. I can't. Zane might be doing some stuff with it. I definitely would believe that.
Yeah.
Now, on the note of what new players can do, I would say, I mean, I would like to see an uptick of people using these features. I would say that the easiest thing to do, and something you should definitely do, is if you're trying to get your tech skill down, I think loading up combo training, and I do this pretty often. I'll set it to, for example, I'll do like, I want to practice tech chasing, so I'll boot up, like, I'll load in with Fox, and I will set it to like no DI, no SDI, and then random tech direction, and I'll just up smash I'll laser them once, make a save state so they're at 2%, 3%, and then I'll up smash them and go for a tech chase off it. Really, really useful, really useful. And you can really make sure that you're getting your tech chases clean. So that's really easy. The ledge dash training is really, really nice because it literally will show you, hey, if you're losing frames in your ledge dash, is it because you're holding onto the ledge for too long? Is it because you had too long of a gap between inputting your fall and your jump, or your jump and your wave dash input? Really, really easy to understand kind of UI, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then
the ledge teching one's pretty straightforward.
Oh,
although
yeah.
I did notice as Marth that seemed to not work the best because you'd always hit his leg with your up B. It happened to me a lot.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I actually, but I think it's really the possibilities are pretty out there because like, I mean, if you wanted to come up with like a new edgeguard flowchart for like Marth, I can imagine throwing a Marth off stage at like some percent, and then have him do like an early-ish side B, or have him stall with like side B and then up B, or side B, up B, or side B and then double jump, whatever. Like you could have him do and then kind of practice various things. So I mean, there are a lot of ways that like you can really push the limits these days. And for someone like PP, you used to have a lot of information on, like, for example, the shadow boxing stuff. I would say that these days, like, you could probably just take those ideas and, I mean, you could probably just literally, like, back in the day, you had to be good enough that you had to be able to mentally simulate a situation and kind of practice it against what you kind of envision would happen in a real match.
Yes.
But these days you could literally, I mean, I do this sometimes. When I was trying to really drill the muscle memory for run up crouch cancel dash grab, for example. Yeah, I just had a Marth doing forward or down tilt, forward or down tilt, forward down tilt, dash back, forward or dash back. And it's really good because I mean it's right there. It's right there, and you don't have to wonder about, oh, well, what if my opponent's not doing it properly or something, because you can record it and get it as nice as you want it to be, and then work on whatever you want to work on. So it's definitely good. You could have Falco shooting a bunch of lasers,
Right.
What do I do about lasers,
I mean, the reason I still like the shadow boxing that I do is because there are so many different possible timings, so many frames that even if you made, I don't know, let's say you made 60, I don't know what the limit is, but let's say you made 60 save states and they all did like a similar sort of thing, but at a slightly different timing. I think that there are still so many permutations from each of those starting points that it still is just so valuable to imagine. That, don't get me wrong, I think being able to see it is really good. And I also think that for those of us that are not fully aware of what we're talking about, there is a training mode by Uncle Punch. You have to go to his Patreon to get that, and then there's a lot of things you can do. What we're mostly talking about right now are the save state features in it in the free practice mode, I believe. And so in there, I think one of the easiest things you could do as a new player, and this is something that I'm, like if I see an option that like, I don't know, like a Sheik is doing a lot, and it's messing up people or something like that. I could just say, instead of saying, okay, well, I think it could work this way, or I could, do certain things. What I could just do is I could say, let me go make that in Uncle Punch, and then I'll just see what actually beats it, because it's giving so many people a hard time. You don't have to, but you could do it for yourself, right? You can say, I lost to this Marth doing this specific thing, or this specific recovery, or this like couple different ways that he recovered, or this particular thing that he would do after he got me to this percent in the chain grab, or whatever, right? And then you can just say, okay, well, is there a way I can SDI and avoid this follow-up, or is there a way I can make this more ambiguous? And I think there's a lot of things you can kind of start looking at from that point. And you might not be able to know for sure, but you can get more ideas. And I think that's the main thing, is not having to have a practice partner. I think like is a bit of an issue still, because like they can bounce ideas off of you and their timing can vary like a person and things like that. But the nice thing about it is, like Toph was saying, if it works, if you make it as perfect as possible and you're able to still beat it, then it absolutely works regardless of timing, and that's really good for you. So I think that's just such a useful feature. But for really new players, Toph was talking about the tech, getting your tech down, getting some edge dash stuff down. There's one for mashing out a grab that I mentioned earlier that I think is kind of neat. It's maybe not like the most required thing for a new player, but if you hate getting chain grabbed and that Marth loves pummeling you after the regrab or pummeling you before they start, then you could say, all right, well, we'll just learn to do this, and we will start trying to react as quickly as possible. And you could probably even use a save state when you get grabbed at various times. And so you can always see how these things can complement each other. And so it's really, I mean, I don't know what all it covers in its entirety. I haven't explored everything yet, but I can tell you that if you're seeing a lot of people being able to do something, either it's especially a lot of newer players, it's either from Uncle Punch, or it's something that there's like resources out there that make it easily available, which you can then practice at Uncle Punch. So I would say, it's simple enough to just go in there. Every event match is just something simple, and it allows you to do it. And if you don't understand, you can probably just YouTube search how to do this, how to slide off, how to SDI, how to, whatever. And then that'll be a perfect complement. And that I feel like that can probably work pretty well for most new players.
Yeah, agreed. Dude, there's so much stuff in there. I'm just, as you're talking, I also remembered I was watching this very recently on the Beast Coast channel. Shout out to Beast Coast. They did Esther J versus Homemade Waffles in exercise, and they were trying to beat each other in exercise. Yeah, and it was funny because it's funny because it's like, so Brandon was going Falcon because Falcon's really good in that mode, because everything Falcon does breaks the eggs, so you can just upper them. But of course, SJ is also going Falcon, and it's funny because like with exercise, like, so if you guys haven't seen what exercise is, you go on some stage and little eggs spawn, and you got to break them with you can only use strong moves that do 12% or more.
12%.
And 12% or more. And it was funny because even watching them, like, you could see how much, and Brandon is an amazing player, but you could see how much cleaner SJ's movement was. Like, SJ just did not miss, because you really got, your fast falls have to be clean, your dash back has to be clean, you got to react to where the egg spawns, you got to place your aerial nicely. And, SJ, I realized watching, like, exercise is actually an amazing tool for like just really making sure your movement's kind of polished. That's actually another cool fact or cool what mode I guess that Uncle Punch has is literally and I think some players used to do this like Moki and Amsa, but literally using that to practice your movement and your hitbox placement.
Too, I think.
Leffen, I think, yeah. Exercise is also dope. Just, I mean, there's so much in Uncle Punch. There's so many ways that you can get better with it, and I actually think exercise is kind of dope. Because I mean, even comparing like myself and how I do it to like someone like Moki, like you can see how the top players are like just a little bit cleaner, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if it maps reasonably well to like how good you actually are, at least on an execution level. This is all to say that Uncle Punch has like a million different things you can do, and you should. I mean, really, you owe it to yourself. If you're trying to get better at melee at all, I mean, it's also just kind of fun, to boot up and mess around in. But I do have a YouTube video on it. If you guys want to check out my YouTube, it's on there. I've got a video where I kind of walk through the really cool features that Uncle Punch 3.0 has. So that'll be somewhere. Maybe we put that in the description as well. I don't know.
Heck yeah. But I mean, I just want to echo something you said really quickly while we definitely put that in the description. I love that you're saying that if we boot it up, there's like fun there. It's fun to mess around in, right? Like I think for so long, I think people were like practicing, cringe, boring.
Yeah.
Who likes that? Yucky, poop. But now, right? Like I think we have this game mode, which is about hitting eggs, and you must be fast, and your tech has to be clean, and you can't just spam 400 multi shines in place like a Chad, right? Like so, I like that. I like that we are gamifying improvement more, but like kind of in like a healthy way. Although people are going to be like, I broke this many eggs, and if you don't, you suck. And so like we still have that to worry about, but I still think it's like way healthier for us to have these sorts of things exist. So I think that's really cool, and I just wanted to kind of reinforce you saying that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for that. I think that's a really good point. This question sort of stemmed from like, because as I said, I was a new player, so I watch Radio Melee every week, and there was I don't remember if this was last week or 2 weeks ago, but Toph was kind of talking about how it's really helpful. Oh, this was the week Scar was on, I think. How it's helpful to have a rival, sort of somebody to come up with, but because of COVID and because of like kind of the Slippi era, because I've been watching Melee since I was in like middle school. I'm like 22 now, but this is my first time actually taking it seriously and actually like, okay, 4 hours like every day, grind my tech, do all that stuff. But I think this question sort of stemmed from like a lot of the times when I hop on Slippi for unranked or when I'm in tournaments or whatever, it's like I've done this thing in Uncle Punch like a million times sort of thing, but sometimes I'm still dropping it. Part of it might be like nerves. Part of it might be, I think a lot of it is it's different to do something in an actual game. You might not be.
It is.
Yeah, exactly. So that I kind of wanted to gauge how useful it is, how.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's true. It's a lot easier to do things in practice than in a real game. But this is something good that I heard from Drug Fox. This might have even come from PP at the beginning. I'm not even sure. This might be a PPism, but something Drug Fox said to me was, if you can't do it consistently in practice, you're like, you're right. If you can do it in practice, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hit it in a real match. But like, if you can't hit it consistently in practice, if you cannot hit it consistently in practice, you're definitely gonna fuck it up when it counts. So, like there was this particular sequence that he was having me work on in like the Falcon matchup or something, and he was like, "See, if you had Plup just open up Uncle Punch recording and you told Plup, hey, like whiff punish this move, like he would just get it first try." And so, yes, it's true that just because you can do it in practice, that doesn't mean that you're gonna be able to hit in a real match, but the great players will be able to do it in practice consistently.
Yeah.
So I think it's great to think of it as like a prerequisite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to add on to that. So I would imagine your response to this, especially if you're practicing for 4 hours a day, like you're saying, your response is probably, well, I am hitting this consistently in practice. And I would probably say you're right. I would not disagree with you with that. I think a lot of people talk to me and other people about this. And so I think what I often notice is just the missing link is when you're in tournament, you're not just standing still and then saying, okay, time to do this move and beat this move that I know they're going to do 100%, because that's not really how it works necessarily. So what I would say instead is watch your movements you do in a match and then do some of those movements before the thing that you're practicing, because that's what feels normal to you, and that's what translates it to an actual match. Make it real. The more you make it like a real match, the more it translates to a real match. In other words, practice like you play.
Yeah,
we used to call this I'm sure there's different phrases for this, but in Washington we used to call, because me and Silent Wolf used to practice the shit out of our ledge dashes, and we used to call it transition states. You got to practice all your different transition states. So it's like you want to grab the ledge from a double jump and then ledge dash. You want to do a ledge refresh with fire salt and then ledge dash. You want to side B short into the ledge and then ledge dash. Now, it's funny because then it turned out, just as a random tangent here, it's funny because with ledge dashing, we went on to learn years later that depending on how you grab the ledge, it shifts your ECB, and it actually does tangibly change the difficulty of your ledge dash. So I will also say, for example, if you're the kind of person where you're like, well, I hit my ledge dashes perfectly in practice, and then I miss them in real matches and ISD. Okay, are you fire stalling every single time? You get that really nice ECB in practice, but then in real matches, you're going for it off of like fast falls where you have the shitty ECB. So you might not even realize this, so it's extra worth. I think with all the wonkiness of Melee, I think it's extra important to do what PP just said and really make sure you do some of the surrounding movement to transition into the thing you're practicing, not just do the exact thing over and over and over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. I definitely am gonna look into doing that for sure. I didn't even think about that when I just load up Uncle Punch. I kind of just, because my name is Kmarth, but I'm a Falco player, so
that's a Melee player classic. Yep, that's a Melee player classic.
I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting that at all. Usually, I would say there's a lot of people that have had characters in their name that are that character. So well played, you got me there, Kmarth.
This used to be a thing, man. There were a lot of people who had a character in their name that don't play that character anymore. Falcomist was the classic, but there were because he became a Marth player. God, there used to be so many examples of this. I mean, Mewtwo King would be the most prominent example, right?
Yeah.
Sure. What's that guy's name? Crazy Kirby Kid or whatever the hell. There were a bunch of
Kirby Kaze.
Kirby Kaze, yes, Kirby Kaze. All the way to the top. Mewtwo King, Kirby Kaze. There's two great players.
Yeah.
I used to have this problem, by the way. I noticed when I was I noticed I was missing a lot of jump cancel grabs, and I realized this is because when I would practice them in, I'd be like, time to practice my jump cancel grabs, and I'd run around and my hands are conveniently nested. My index finger would be on Y, my index finger would be on Z, and my thumb would be on Y, and I'm running around. Oh, I'm getting the timing. This is great. I'm hitting every single jump cancel grab. And then in a real match, sometimes my thumb's over on the C stick or something, and having to first swivel my thumb up to the Y button and then do it, I would miss the timing a lot. Literally, my hand position would be in the wrong position, and I think a lot of people don't think about that sort of thing. Damn, I keep missing my jump cancel grabs in matches. Well, you got to practice. Don't just practice your two fingers already being where they need to be. Practice moving your whole hand over and make these sorts of observations, because it'll help you out a lot.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much.
You're very welcome.
This is really fun. I'm a huge fan of both of you guys, so this has been really cool.
Yeah, for sure. You got any shout outs? Thank you so much. You got any shout outs for us, Kmarth, who plays Falco?
I'll do a shout out to the new norm, I guess. It's a local that's happening this Sunday. It's SoCal. So it's gonna be my first local since I've been playing actually seriously. So
okay, good luck.
I've been doing a lot of Slippi tournaments and all that, and so we'll see how this sort of goes. I'm excited to meet some people and hopefully make some friends to play with and grind with and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then shout outs to you guys as well, Golden Guardians, obviously. Players like me. It's been a lot of fun, sort of being inspired to take Melee seriously. I've been a huge PP fan for like forever, so this has like been amazing that you're streaming all the time, and it's like really fun to go in your stream and hang out, and Toph as well. I love all the anime talks and stuff. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that, dude.
Yeah. So all right. Thanks, guys.
See ya. And shout outs to Weebs, am I right?
Yes, absolutely. You are right. That was a fun. I'm glad we got to go a little bit deep on that one.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like we have another person queued up. Here they are. Hello, TheWaffleMan. Where are you calling in from?
The Waffle Man.
Calling in from Connecticut.
Okay, cool deal. Shout out to Connecticut.
Shout out to Connecticut.
What's your question for us today?
All right, so my question is, so Mang0 said recently on stream he's going to start maining Fox and using Falco as a secondary. And more specifically, he said that he's going to go Fox against Marth on every stage of FD, where he's going to use Falco. So do you think this is the right decision, or do you think Fox fans like Leffen, who think the matchup is 60-40, are correct?
I think Mang0 should go Falcon on FD. That was hype when he did that to Armada. But anyway,
it didn't work that one time, didn't it? Actually,
it worked, and then it worked, and also didn't work.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, that's
but
how it goes. You're not going to win every game against Armada.
Yeah, but I mean, God, that was great. But anyway, yeah, I can start, or you can start, Toph, whatever you want to do.
You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay. So I think I don't know how much of this is Mang0 just giving a big middle finger to the Fox players because he's like, I'm so tired of this complaining about all of this stuff, and so I'm gonna be the guy, and I'm gonna show you what's up, and then I'm gonna troll you all about it. I don't know how much of it's that, and how much of it he just because Mang0. He was always going back and forth between Fox and Falco. Like sometimes he would play both, but he would prominently go to one and the other. And I think that was happening so much a few years ago. And then he just went all Falco for like a really long time. So I think maybe it's just kind of like it's kind of just, he wants something different, and maybe, he feels the time is right, and he's kind of enjoying Fox and everything like that. And so I think for Mang0's enjoyment of the game, because he's been playing for a long time. He streams a lot. He's played so much Melee. I think that in itself is probably helpful. I think it's going to change his matchup spread some. I think it'll probably help him out against Sheik more, which will be good for him. And what will it do against Marth? Specifically, that's what you were kind of asking about. I don't know, because I haven't seen him do it in tournament yet. And I think Zane can be a little bit different in friendlies than in tournament. I'd like to see them play in a tournament setting with this Fox. We thought we talked about that a little bit before Octagon, didn't see it, but I think that time is coming. Maybe he'll try it against some people at Summit. Maybe he'll try it against Zane at Summit, especially if they're I guess they wouldn't be in a pool together. That wouldn't really make any sense. But if it somehow happened, maybe he'd try it. I don't know. Or maybe they try it at tournament. But yeah, not going Fox on FD, I think is fair. I think that is pretty rough. I don't really comment on Fox Marth as a whole. I think there are some. I think IBDW specifically has said that he doesn't mind Fox Marth except for the FD part. So I think in that way he is kind of in line with how Mang0 feels about it. So I think not going Fox on FD against Zane, for example, is a good choice. And I think bringing the Falco back there could be good. Also, if it just could play off of how Zane is playing a certain way that could change him up, or it could affect Mang0 more. I mean, these guys both adapt really well, so maybe that doesn't even really matter, right? So, but I do think that the Falco FD pick is a good choice, regardless, like of whether the Fox in itself is good. But I also think that Fox on Yoshi's and Fox on Dreamland can be really strong on their own. So I think even if he did like a hybrid type of strategy, that would also be kind of interesting. So I don't know what I necessarily think is best for him, but I think trying it is really interesting. And I think for his enjoyment of the game, I think it's worthwhile. And so I think, regardless of whether it works right away, I think he, knows a lot of good things about Fox and uses things about Fox some other people don't. And I think he, when I've seen him play against Zane, it doesn't really look one-sided. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. And I think, not going Fox for FD, I think is also a wise choice. And so I'm certainly curious about it. I think it's an interesting strategy. Can I say it's better than Falco? I don't know, but I can say that it's worth going for in his case.
Yeah, he was saying that, like, I was there for the stream. He was basically saying the plan is he's also going to use Falco for some matchups always. Like, he's always going to use Falco, I think, for Falcon and Fox, he said. Yeah. And
no more Fox Ditto Master?
I threw the idea in the chat, but I think he just likes Falco Fox more. I don't know.
Sure.
And I think I get it. He was saying, like, for Falco Marth, he felt like, and I mean, I get that this is kind of hazy language, it's not super duper well defined, but I also kind of know what he means. He was saying that he felt like with Falco Marth, there's a lot of pressure on the Falco to kind of make outplays, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Which I kind of get in the sense that, like, I feel like Falco does really well in the matchup when he can just kind of get into, like, advantage and start pressuring the Marth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas in neutral, if I'm standing on this side of the stage and you're standing on that side of the stage and you're Marth, it's actually kind of scary if you don't have a laser out, for example.
Yeah.
Falco kind of has to make things happen in a way that Marth kind of doesn't. And so I kind of get that from the perspective of, and he was also saying something that he thought was really important to note that he felt like no one was talking about. And I think this is a cool bit of, I'm curious what you think about this. Mang0 was saying he thinks Fox, when he's past 100%, becomes like an incredible character. I mean, obviously Fox is already an incredible character, but I think he was basically saying like, you know, think about what Marth gets off a grab at lower/mid percents versus like when you're at like 110, 120 and Marth gets a grab. Sometimes it's like, nah, you're not really going to get a kill. You might be able to like up throw, maybe nair, maybe get him off stage, but it turns into a situation where you can really start inflicting what we used to call back in the day Marthritis if you're able to especially make a read right on your recovery or something like that. And obviously Fox is going to be able to use both up B and side B from a much longer distance than Falco. And I think that plays really well for, in particular, the way Mang0 likes to recover. So I think for him, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. And also, it's not the first time we've seen this out of him. I mean, he used to basically use this character picking strategy. He used to be very much a guy that would go. I think people more recently have been kind of accustomed from 2018, 2019 on to see mostly pretty much as Falco outside of the Puff matchup. But
he was going all Falco even against Puff and Peach for a little while.
For a little while, yeah. But, you know, 2014, 15, 16, 17, I feel like Mang0 played a lot of Fox. And I mean, he's got a really good Fox. It's also a little bit different than the other Fox players. Zane says that he thinks Mang0's like neutral and pressure are better than even IBWs and Leffens. He feels like IBW and Leffen hit a little harder, maybe they edge guard a little bit more cleanly, but he feels like Mang0 plays the matchup really in a really, really kind of smothering way. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for him. I like the Falco pick on FD because it does feel like, I mean, we've even seen at SCL, Mang0's taking games off, still taking games off Zane's Marth just fine with Falco. He does hit very hard on that stage. So I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's I mean, I like it. I think it obviously it does present a little bit of a challenge because he's going to have to keep both characters kind of tuned.
Yes.
But I think he knows how to do that, so I'm not too worried about him. I think it's a good plan.
Yeah. You wanted me to respond to the 100% thing.
Oh, yeah. Please do.
So I mean, so I have two kind of thoughts. I mean, my first thought is when I play against Fox and that kind of happens sometimes, I more so think I messed up as opposed to this character is amazing when this sort of happens. And I don't mean I messed up to get the Fox at 100. I mean, I messed up like I hit Fox with like a tipper forward air. He SDIs off the stage, so he goes way out there. And then, what happens afterward is like, oh yeah, maybe the Fox gets like some different up B angles, but if he goes high, this is kind of the interesting thing about Fox's up B versus Falco's is you can swing early on some of Fox up B angles, but because he's still just going, he doesn't come out of the up B for a while. So you can swing in one way and then punish a different way sometimes, just depending on where he is. So I tend to kind of think that I think that sometimes, like if that's happening to me, I think more that it's more me messing up, but there are times where the Fox player, especially with Mang0's really good SDI, can make that kind of hurt. And especially if like Fox can reversal you, he can shine into something kind of close to the edge, or he can, come back and then like jab up smash or whatever, right? There was the other kind of thing to add to this is you could also just, still it's harder to like sweet spot under Marth's counter or something, which I think Zane still does use a little bit against Mang0. So you could die at 0% or a mid% or something earlier as Fox against Marth. Of course, Mang0 can just tech it. I don't know how much he does that. I don't think it's like all the time, but I mean, I think that, Marth can also just kill Fox really early. Like if Marth kills Fox at like 70 and 40 and 90 some stocks, and then Fox gets to live to like 150 on the last one. I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, maybe if he gets like, 3 more chances, maybe, but it's kind of hard to say, right? Like, cause that's, you're losing more chances for neutral earlier. So it's kind of hard for me to say if that really is as big of a factor, but the neutral, like you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, Mango playing neutral so vastly differently from every other Fox means Zane's Fox practice can't really prepare him. But I guess it's kind of similar for the Falco. But yeah, I mean, Mango has really, really good SDI. He's got a really good recovery that combines well with it to give him more chances to go there. I mean, his Falco even was having a lot of chances to live, and when Falco up Bs, he's big dead. Fox up Bs, he's often
Big
still
dead.
in a bad, still in a bad spot. But you know,
Mhm.
it can be different. So it'd be kind of interesting as just its own separate statistic to kind of watch how often does Mango get to that point, and if it's like twice, a game, that's worth it probably. If you can get above 100 twice, and you can really make Marth recover, and then you can make Zane start just like raw F smashing, or he only gets forward throw in the middle of the stage, and then you slide off to edge, and then he comes back and up smashes you out of his edge dash. Then yeah, heck yeah, it's worth it, big worth it. But I don't know. Like maybe Mango would have just beaten Zane anyway with Falco or something if like that happened. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm very
Yeah.
curious, but I think that is something I'm going to kind of track. How often can Mango have that happen? How often can Zane get those early kills? Because that's if Mango can make that work, then that could be a swing factor as well. And again, given Mango's really good SDI and recovery, maybe that is something that happens. So I think, and it's very interesting too, right? I'm kind of thinking about how we even talked a little bit last week about how leading into Summit, there are questions about what's Zane going to do about the Sheiks or the Falcons, and what's Mango going to do about Sheiks and stuff like that too. And it seems like Mango's partial answer anyway now is like Fox and ramping that up, and I think that's going to help him out too, and also give him something interesting for Zane. And so I think there are a lot of strategies, players, circumstances kind of coming together that are we can very much say, oh well, this is interesting, and we can project how it goes, but a lot of things just haven't happened in a while. We have seen some players just haven't played that much, or have played in a different way due to some online factors implicating them. And so what's going to happen when they're playing offline again? But there's just so many things that are coming together right now. Like what it's Axe and Zane going to look like, right? Like there's just so many things that are coming together right now, and Mango's Fox being, I think, a big part of that conversation. So I'm certainly curious about it.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I will say is that like I would not be surprised if sometimes just in tournament, like Mango will say one thing on like in the on a stream or in plant, but like I do feel like people like Mango's the kind of guy, like if push comes to shove in a tournament, and if one day he's just feeling one character over the other, like I'm hitting wave dash. I don't know what the exact thought process is, but it's like I'm hitting cleaner wave dashes with Falcon than Fox Day or something like that. Like he'll just go that character.
Right.
We've definitely seen that from him. So yeah, I would not be surprised if a lot of the foresight came true, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some surprises here and there, I guess.
Yeah.
So don't be
for sure.
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. You basically answered everything I needed. I guess the one thing I would
That's what we do.
I guess the one thing I would mention is like Mango said on the stream, he was like shine spiking is just like killing Marth early is just something that Falco struggles to do.
Right. That's
super
absolutely
fair.
true.
That's super fair.
If you
Those
grab
big
Marth
swings,
by the
yeah.
edge, you can really get him killed, and that's something that is very satisfying as a Fox player. So yeah,
I think Fox actually has like an underdeveloped
Yes.
edgeguard game against Marth. I thought this for a while.
Yeah, he can get a flowchart, and I think it's actually easier at like the 20-ish% range. I've messed with it for a while. It's a lot of fun. So it's good stuff, and yeah. So I think Mango's absolutely on the money there, and I think he'll know various ways to kind of manipulate the Marts into even panicking by the edge, which could make things even easier for him. So I think what he could lack in certain ways of hitting harder and comboing and whatever, he can make up for in some of the gimps. So that could come together for an interesting game plan. The neutral, the smothering, the pushing Marth to the edge, and then getting a gimp or something. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also think that corresponds with what you're saying about like Martharitis, and like if Fox lives to like 150 and then Shine spikes Marth, like that's just like a mental blow in itself.
That it is hard.
So
it can happen. Like it can happen to the best of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Good question. Very interesting topic of discussion, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any shout outs, WaffleMan?
I guess shout out to myself. I stream on Twitch.
Yeah.
Nice.
At TheWaffleMan SR. I do speedrunning.
Oh, cool.
I'm
What do you
also going to
speedrun?
be at Teardown. I don't know if you've seen Atriox streams, but he plays that game. It's like a Minecraft game, kind of. The
Is your time faster than Atriox?
I have the world record, so yes.
Oh,
Wow, look at that.
Oh, so Atriox is your fanboy. Is that what you're saying?
Atriox doesn't speedrun the game. He just he just
Plays,
plays
he just plays
casually.
it.
Maybe he will be. Maybe he will be
Maybe.
soon.
Yeah,
After he sees
maybe
this.
if this clip goes to Atriox, maybe he will.
Yeah, who knows?
Also, shout outs to Wormlax for every week
Heck yeah.
going through the questions and picking them out. That sounds tough. This is the first time I've actually been in the what's it called? Submit topics here, and I was like, damn, there's a lot of good questions. So
yeah.
Shout outs to Wormlax.
Shout outs to Wormlax.
That's all I got. Thank you guys for answering my question.
All right. Take care.
All right, take care, man.
Came out to flex the world record on us. What a gamer.
Yeah, I just looked up the game Teardown. Sounds kind of interesting. Maybe I'll check it out at some point.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, seems like you gotta I don't know, looks dope. Whatever. I think we have one more caller for the day, if I'm not mistaken.
It looks like we do.
Our last caller on. Brady, what's up, dude? Long time.
Oh, is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's Brady, yeah.
I thought it was Brdy because I saw you in a video. It was like 2008 or something. I think I saw you in some match on I don't know if it was Silent Wolves or someone's YouTube. And I always thought you were Brdy, and I've never heard your name. What's up, Brady? Yeah, hello.
PP. I don't think we ever met back when I played, but it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hope you're doing well. Where are you calling in from so the people out there can be aware?
Where am I calling in from? I'm in Arizona.
Oh,
you're in Arizona.
Okay.
Wow, damn.
I didn't.
Yeah, I'm in Phoenix.
Brady was one of the OG, not Seattle, but Pacific Northwest, Washington. Yeah. Good to see you around. What's your question?
My question is, so I wanted you guys individually to talk about kind of how you grew your communities early on in the Smash scene,
what do you
back
mean
in the early 2000s. Your Smash communities.
The local scene.
Yeah, your local scene. Like, how did you get people together to play? Or maybe you had to travel and go somewhere else. And what did building those relationships look like? Right.
Yeah, I haven't heard this from PP. I've talked about my story before, but I mean, it's funny thinking about this because, one of my favorite examples that I love to bring up is shout outs to Jeffrey Chen, aka Jeez, I'm So Bored. Team Oxy's own Jeez, I'm So Bored. Who's this kid? Yeah, so he was he basically came into our little local Washington Melee Facebook group and was like, hey, I go to the University of Washington, I'm a brand new player. I'm interested in getting a session in with somebody. And back then, the game was so much smaller. It was so dead at the time, right? Because this was, you got to realize this was Brawl era, right? This is the dark ages. This is 2010, 2009, maybe.
If 20 people came to a tournament, that was a momentous achievement. Everyone was like, yo, this is stacked.
Yes, 20 people would have been a lot.
Yeah.
And so by that logic, because 20 people is a lot, if I can get one person invested in the scene,
that was huge.
That's huge. So, I hit him up. I was like, hey, I go to the University of Washington. I'll come to your dorm, or you can come to my dorm, or we can play on campus. Let's get a session in. I'll show you the ropes. He was a Falco player. And I went to his dorm, played him for a while. We had dinner or something like that. And then, and then he kind of got invested for there. He started coming to tournaments. And then when he graduated, I think he went to SoCal, and he somehow, some way, continued to get involved, and then he became a part of Team Oxy and helped them run tournaments and he did staff stuff for Team Oxy with such esteemed members as Sung and I'm sure there's one other guy on Team Oxy that's prominent, but I can't remember who else is big on that. So anyway, right. And so it was cool for me because I was like, all right, I don't know that he would have gotten that involved in Smash if I didn't reach out to him and set up a one-on-one session with him. So he was kind of my protege or my progeny. It's one of those words, maybe both for a while. I mean, the TLDR is back in the day you would do I definitely felt I would go out of my way for anyone and everyone. Yes. If there was even one showing interest in the scene or whatever, I would literally reach out to them. And I can't operate at that kind of scale anymore. Like, obviously, because there's too many new people. I mean, it's a good problem to have. But yeah, back in the day when times were sparse, you would definitely go above and beyond for even like a single person to stay interested. And I think that's kind of what kept the game alive, probably for a long time in a lot of regions, was those sorts of people. I'm sure you've got some stories like that. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, when I started playing, I was in a little town, and the closest players I had were like a little over an hour away from me. But one of the first times I traveled, I didn't even travel for a tournament. I just drove like 2.5 hours just to play like 2 people, just for a little bit, just because I just loved it so much. I just wanted to play Melee so bad, which I guess is like probably weird to Slippi kids now, but I still did it anyway. It was just so much fun, and I was just so wanting to play and learn things. But yeah, I mean, could I say that I did a whole lot to specifically try to grow the scene? I tried things. I tried things to get the local players motivated. I mean, it was hard to like think about how to get new people in. That's not really something I was strong at, but I tried to keep people invested. So I helped start up power rankings for the scene. They weren't really a thing when I started, and once I was established as the second best and then certainly the best player in the state, I was like, oh, I want to start rankings. And so I started that up, and I learned how it worked, and I got a couple other people together, and we started doing that. And I did that for several years, probably about 5 or so. Even did that for Brawl for a little bit, I think. And so I would do services like that, or I would have discussions with people about what should the venue fee be or the entry fee be, so that we can, so like, we'd have discussions about, would $10 entry be better so we can get out of state people and then other people want to see them play, or would $5 be better so that we could get just more people coming, and that would just be more welcoming for people. And I would have arguments with people about that. It's just trying to do whatever we could to try and get people to roll through, because that's what we really wanted. And so I will say, I don't know how much of what I did truly made a difference. I'll just be honest about that. But I think the power rankings really did do something. And I think I just made myself as available as possible back on AIM, back when that was a thing. If you want to ask me questions, do that. I mean, that's what I do on my stream and stuff now anyway, but it's smaller scale then. So if you want to ask me questions, please do. I was on Smashboards, ask me questions, please do. Because at the end of the day, I wanted to talk about Melee, and if it kept people engaged, and if they didn't get stonewalled by something they weren't sure how to learn, and I could help with that made me really happy too. I was like, oh, I can get people into the scene. This is my way to contribute. So I offered what I felt I could, some of my time, my knowledge and experience about how rankings worked, and then eventually just about how the game itself worked. And that's what, I mean, I would drive to play people and stuff like that too. Sometimes that changed over time, and I felt like that wasn't necessarily the best. But also, it's kind of funny. I went to so many of the North Carolina tournaments, and I would just win them by too much. And so I would go there, and everyone, I remember a few times I would come in and everyone would look at me and groan collectively. So I would say that I was not a help because of how much I wanted to go to tournaments. But I think largely a lot of my efforts were helpful, but I don't know how much. I think I helped maintain, and I got a few more people in and things like that. And I think when other people from out of state came, everyone was excited for that. So I did what I could, but again, it's kind of hard for me to really say I have a lot of credit for that. I think it was just, there were other things that were really exciting about the game. I think I did what I could to keep people around and enjoying it, but I don't know if I like, even, it's hard to say if I really could grow things a lot. I think everything around the community really ended up making the difference.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Those are really good answers. So now, kind of to shift perspective a little bit, like, does the thing that Toph did, like those one-on-one kind of mentorship situations, do those still work these days? Like in this kind of era of Twitch and like kind of all this mass communication, Twitter and all that kind of stuff?
What do you mean by work?
What I mean is like how do we bring more people in locally today?
Oh, well, yeah, I think Toph kind of already addressed that. He said, yeah, we would like to do that, but there's too many people.
I think the scale is it's just moved beyond that. I think it's a good problem to have, right? Like it's good that we are at the stage now with our scale that it makes more sense to do things like unique forms of content or unique events or ways like collabs that'll reach a lot of people on YouTube and social media and stuff like that. I mean, I think I mean, on a local level, certainly, and I think on a local level, sure, there's still like that's like a way anyone can get involved. But especially if you're from a smaller region. But like, I'm at the level now where I'm thinking about growing the game on a wider scale. So for me, I'm not nearly as invested in those sorts of kind of what do you call them? Mentorships or what have you. But I mean, it's still like I still think it's a way that if you're, for example, if you're getting into it at like the collegiate level or something like that, right? And you've got like a Smash club, I think bringing people into your Smash club and stuff can definitely go a long way for like a local scene, and it's super cool when you can get a nice little local scene of a couple people, because then you can look at forming a crew and going to tournaments, and I think that can have very far-reaching effects. So yeah, I mean, I think it kind of just depends who you are and where you live and kind of what the circumstances are.
Yeah, and I mean, like the problem of scale is one for me too, and I still really like the one-on-one time with people.
Right.
But there's just so many of them. So that's kind of why I'm glad I started doing my own coaching Patreon, patreon.com/ppmd. But I didn't
Nice.
really, I haven't done that one in a while. So but genuinely, truly, I really like having that connection with people. And so I'm glad that there's a way to kind of sift through and get people that I feel like are going to be really invested and things like that. So I think that's real. That feels really good to me. But I also like Toph is saying, I like trying to bring a bunch of people in, and I think doing my stream and trying to do that decently enough to make it informative for new people. That's kind of why I try to do so much informative stuff. It's kind of like, if you remember how I was in the past, I would always be available on AIM for questions, and I do stuff on Smashboards. Now I try to be as available on my Discord or my stream or something like that, or even in my YouTube comments to answer questions. And so people have that access and that way in, so they're not walled by something. They're not feeling left out of the community. But I think the local level matters too. And I think a lot of people, I think that understandably, but I think there was a lot of excitement, and I think even in like the 2014 time, because there were people still going to like locals and regionals and stuff. And I think a lot of players got really charged up by that. A lot of people got inspired by that in those local areas. And I've kind of taken a notice of that and how people in local scenes have really kind of felt that sucks. And so I have always kind of wanted to, I don't know what capacity I would do this in. I still kind of debate on it. I don't know. I don't think I would enter, but I would kind of depend. But I kind of still want to like go to like a North Carolina local once a month or something like that when I am just back to doing things more regularly, because I think that really positively impacts the scene. People will be like, "Oh, I met him at this tournament, and then I wanted to play, or I played him at this tournament, and I was like, wow, that was so cool." And then I just kept going.
Right.
Like, there's a player. I mean, I guess like there's someone that ended up being a little bit more prominent that some people might know that are a little more plugged into the scene, and they originally played one character. I played them at a local, and they played a secondary, and I was like, wow, this secondary of yours really interesting, very expressive, and I was more interested in that than their main, because I didn't know who they mained. And so they ended up switching, and they ended up going very far with that character, and it was so I think there are stories like that develop more in the scene when they kind of have chances to meet some of the players like that. And so I find that's, and I also just kind of think it's like a good practice thing to do, like supporting the local area just kind of is like a good thing. Like I can kind of think about like I can think about if I don't think it's this extreme, obviously, but like politicians might live somewhere and then they don't interact with people around them or whatever, right? And so I don't want to feel that way about myself. I want to say I'm still contributing to what's around me, and I don't think I have to do it in the same way I did before, or as in the same, because there's so many more people, and there's only so much I can be giving of myself now because I have more obligations and things like that too. But I recognize that this is something important to me, and I recognize that this is good for the scene long term for me to do things for my local scene and to give back. So that's something important to me. I don't know if that makes enough sense, or that answers your question all right, or what.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to chat it up about these kinds of things. And one of the earlier callers, in 64 Degrees, he had mentioned that he was the president of his collegiate club.
Yeah.
Right.
And and like obviously collegiate clubs and things like that are like really good ways to grow communities. And
Yes.
and it just got me thinking about that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this has come up so many times. I think it's nearly every episode. I think we talk about how there's not a governing body of Melee. We are in charge. We have to make the decisions. It's good that we're always talking about this. What can we do? How can we empower ourselves? What can we come together to create? Because I think often we're thinking about the day to day. How can we grow our own stream individually? And Toph also kind of brought up like what collabs can we do that can grow things. I think that's just various ideas like that, bringing people together. Bringing more people in, having events, 5 days of Melee or otherwise. And I think LAN's probably going to help with that. Some TOs are probably going to have different marketing ideas and whatever. In itself, it's going to bring attention to the game because, so many people are going to be talking about it again. It's going to have high Twitch viewership and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's cool. It'll be really cool to do what we can to grow our scene on the big level and then maybe on the smaller, closer level. I'm interested in kind of what both of those look like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but yeah, Brady, you remember what it was like back then when
yeah, it was a struggle.
We were on live sports.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, to a certain degree, that kind of hustle will always be relevant, but the way it manifests might look a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, good question. Good discussion for sure, man. Any shout outs you want to do?
Shout outs to you guys. Shout outs to you two. I think you're an awesome duo for Radio Melee. Shout outs to Gold Guardians for doing this. And shout outs to Wormlax.
Let's go, Wormlax.
Week over week, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout outs to all you guys on in the YouTube out there. I know we interact with the Twitch a lot more than the YouTube, but if you guys are out there watching on youtube.com/ggmelee, make sure you come by our Twitch streams during the week. Because it's always a lot of fun with the live questions and stuff like that on the Discord. So if you don't know who Wormlax is, you will know if you come by.
Yeah, everyone on Spotify and everything else, make sure you roll through too if you want to be part of it. It's good to have all of you with us.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, man. Good to chat with you, Brady. Thank you so much for coming on. That was good discussion, man. I'm excited for Melee.
That was a good one.
Q got something
for sure. Yeah, I just wanted to say if Q had a sound effect he would like to play for Wormlax, I would like to hear it. I don't know if he does or not. It is not working right now. That is very sad, but
it's a struggle.
Maybe next time,
struggle, baby.
Hopefully, Wormlax gets another shout out. We'll see what happens. Just keeping Q on his toes. Haven't asked him for a sound effect in a little while. We're getting reconnected here on the 2-man Radio Melee. But yeah, a lot of good questions today. That was a fun one.
Yeah, definitely. We're probably gonna have another guest next week. We usually structure these around our tournaments, so maybe what we'll do is we'll just see who does really well at get on my line this weekend, and then just kind of go from there.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how many people are topical in the scene, and we just try to get someone like that. And that works pretty well, but I think at some point, right, Toph, I think we have to start repeating guests and doing who knows what. I don't know where we all go. Do we ever get one of the people that call in on the podcast like as a guest for a show? Like, do we have like some type of do we have like a giveaway we do for a charity or something where that's a goal? I don't know. That'd be kind of funny just to see what we do with guests eventually.
It would. It would. I assume. I mean, we've already had some return guests in the form of Zane and Nunn, obviously.
Yes,
but,
yes.
We'll get some good stuff for sure. And I think, if there's one thing I want to restate, it's that there's going to be a lot of really exciting Melee over the next couple of weeks leading up to Summit. Which I think people didn't even realize, honestly.
Again, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Because the thing is, if these were offline tournaments. If it was offline Pound, offline Gommel, it would be the Summer Smash. Like, it would literally be, considered to be back-to-back. And I think people aren't quite looking at it that way because it's because offline is on the horizon. We've got the taste and we're like, ooh, offline tournaments are almost back. So like, I feel like people don't quite care as much as they normally would because we've been in this COVID era for so long. But I mean, it's still going to be really dope to just have that stuff on, on stream. And yeah, I mean, I'll be commentating. So catch you guys in some of these streams for sure.
Heck yeah, good luck and have fun out there, Toph. You're gonna kill it, man.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
That's about it for me. You got any closing thoughts or anything like that?
No, I just want to say, we haven't done a 2-man in a while, but it was kind of nice. Feel like the vibe's improving. It was fun, Toph. Thank you, man.
Cozy little cozy vibe. And thank you to all of our wonderful callers. You guys are always killing it with the questions in the Discord. Again, to all of you, there were, again, a lot of questions. There's some questions that we didn't get to. Obviously, we can't get to every single question. But if you, we took on some callers this week that asked their question last week, and we didn't have time for them last week, but this week we brought them on. So if that sounds like you, come back. If you ask your question again, we're very likely to notice it and realize, like, hey, this person really wants to talk about this thing. Let's give him a chance. So, again, every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. East Coast time, same spot on the dial. Thank you so much for tuning in to Radio Melee with Toph and PP.
Hey.